If one yes doesn't make your life, then how can one no break your life? Earlier this morning, I kind of woke up with a little bit of anxiety. And I always know when my anxiety is bad because I usually either have a hard time falling asleep or a hard time staying asleep. So this morning, I think I woke up at like 3 or 4 a.m. and I basically stayed up for the whole day. And as opposed to just sitting there in my thoughts, I was like, you know what? Let me just script a video and send a message to you all. Like, I feel like of some lessons that I've learned since I've graduated from college and experiences that have happened to me and that have like helped me just get a better understanding of how to frame things in my mind in a way where it's like consumable, digestible, and like I can move forward and you can move forward. For the last few days, like I've kind of been theorizing and about this kind of idea and like conceptualizing it in my thoughts and with ChatGPT. And essentially I came up with like this little analogy in my mind about heartbreak. Like I guess the best analogy I could think of, like when I experienced something like a little bit bigger than this. So if you've ever been to an American high school or you've ever watched like an American sitcom or coming of age movie, film, TV show, I'm sure you have seen or met someone who maybe from the age of like 10 years old or the age of 8 years old, they always knew that they wanted to go to Harvard University, or they always knew that they wanted to become a doctor, or, you know, that one person that is like super sure of what is meant for them in their life, what is meant to happen to them. And they essentially like marry themselves to this idea that like they're going to have this specific outcome, right? And a lot of the times, big decision that everyone always talks about, thinks about is your college decision. What t-shirt, what hoodie are you going to wear on May 1st? Where are you going to end up for the next 4 years of your life? And it's usually stems from whatever reason, right? It might be influence from the media. It could be, you know, a parent or sibling attended that school. They're a legacy. So they're like, oh, my dad went to Harvard. I'm going to go to Harvard. Like, what are you talking about? I'm going to be in Harvard. They might have seen it in a movie. Like they just maybe associated this school as like, this is what's going to happen for me. This is how my life is going to go, right? Junior year rolls around. They submit their application to this school. They submit early decision in the fall semester or the winter semester. And, you know, boom, they apply early decision. They wait a couple months. And the end of the winter rolls around, the springtime comes around, and they eventually get their decision in March, right? February, March, and boom, they get rejected. They do not get into Harvard. Decisions came out, and it was not what they thought it would be. Like I said, I'm sure you know, you log into your portal, you get that email notification, hey, like your status portal hasn't been updated. You log into your portal, you're a little suspicious because you're like, like I'm not seeing any balloons. I'm not seeing any congratulations. I'm not getting a phone call. What's this email about to tell me? You log into your portal and it's like, we regret to inform you, blah, 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 blah. Essentially, you've been rejected. Y'all remember that scene from iCarly where it's like, rejected, rejected. Oh, you just got rejected. REJECTED, rejected. REJECTED, rejected. I'm making a joke out of something that's not funny, honestly. But like this moment can be so heartbreaking to so many students, right? Because the college decision is not something you can predict, right? There are people who get into Harvard who have like a 1600 on the SAT. There are people who get into Harvard who have a 1200 on the SAT. Like there is not a rhyme, rhythm, or reason why certain outcomes come to be as they are. But this person may have joined clubs, joined sports, you know, studied extra hard, given themselves like bodily anxiety, like crippling anxiety, trying to be the highest in their class, be the top of their class. And then to hear this decision is like, it almost feels like a slap in the face because it's not even that like this school rejected you. It's like, bruh, like I imagined my life going this way and it's not working out how I thought. Like, you know what I mean? Some people even open up their application decisions around friends and family. And then you have to experience that moment in an audience. And it's like 10 times worse because it's one thing to be rejected. It's another thing for other people to know that you've been rejected. And there's like a guilt, shame, and just like a bad feeling that comes from that. Essentially, I'm being very long-winded with my point, but what I'm trying to say is in the last year of my life, like leaving college, moving to a new city, meeting new people, having new experiences, like I definitely experienced a level of just like a hard time in my life. Like I would definitely say top 5 worst times of my life, like for sure. I was sick to my stomach. It literally felt like there was a cloud over my head for maybe like the first 6 months when I first moved to a big city. And again, I'm not trying to be dramatic about it because like there's people dying. Like y'all know that scene by Kim Kardashian where it's like, Kim, like there's people dying, Kim. Like obviously I know like getting rejected from a college or, you know, experiencing heartbreak or experiencing disappointments with friendships ending, like relationships ending, whatever that may be, like that's not the end of the world if you think about it logically and like in the grand scheme of things. But in the moment when you're like internalizing that and in like your day-to-day life, like it almost feels like there's like a gap or hole, or that hope is gone in your day-to-day life. Like it can feel terrible. And I think like what made my experiences even harder for me, what I'm sure a lot of you all have experienced too, is like, again, sometimes you might even feel like you have like a spiritual calling towards that path. Like you might actually feel like you've gotten signs from the universe, you've gotten signs from God, you've gotten signs from some higher being, like, oh, like I'm meant to go to Harvard. Like this is my chosen path. Like this is meant for me, right? That's not the case. And essentially, I think one realization I had was like, you're not mourning being rejected from Harvard, right? You asked a question, they gave you an answer. You said, hey, Harvard, can I come to school here? And they said, no. That's literally it. You asked a question, you got an answer. That has nothing to do with your self-worth, with who you are, what your future could look like, will look, what's possible for you. It's not everything, but again, because you in your mind thought this was going to happen in this way, and you created like this figment of an imagination, or like this figment or alternative reality of what was going to happen and what was your truth. And you, again, maybe attach that to God, attach that to the universe. Like you really thought that this was your path and it ends up not being your path. Like I think that is what you're truly grieving. You're processing the grief into two layers, right? You're processing the no, and then you're processing like, oh shit, like, can I even trust myself to like know what's right for me? Because I thought this thing was so right for me, and they literally dubbed me. Like Harvard said no. And I guess like some lessons like that can be learned from a situation like that is like, in some instances in life, Harvard didn't break your heart. A school saying no, or a job saying no, or a friend saying no is not what's breaking your heart. It's like you're breaking your own heart, right? Because you didn't allow for a level of like openness or like flexibility in your life path. And I think this can be really hard for high achievers, like people who, you know, are really intentional about their grades, really intentional about the school they go to, really intentional about the internships they take on. Like people who are high achievers, like this is hard for us because we're just like, what do you mean I can't control everything? Like, what do you mean I can't work hard and get what I want up until this point and everything else I've done? Why isn't it working now? That's literally it. You asked a question, you got an answer. And so you have to ask yourself, like, does this answer really impact my self-image? Does this answer really impact how important I am, how bright my future can be? Like, there's millions of people, hundreds of people that have bright futures that are not at Harvard. And furthermore, Harvard is not the only Ivy League, right? Like, there's Yale, there's Dartmouth, there's Princeton. There's some honorable mentions like MIT, Stanford, Vanderbilt, Smith College, Amherst College. Like there's a ton of other institutions that you could have a beautiful reality in, right? You could meet your bestest friends of life. Like I'm talking like y'all celebrate your 80th birthday together. And again, you hear this all the time, but like really sit there and think about it. Like what makes you so sure that that outcome was like meant for you and you deserve that outcome? What made you so sure? Like a level of it is entitlement. And, you know, what we put out does not entitle us to anything. That's just how things go sometimes. Another point I wanted to make in this analogy I used, right, of applying early decision to Harvard and getting rejected in February or March of the following year. You know, that period of time where you get rejected in February and then you kind of have to make that decision of like, okay, I need to apply regular decision to all my other schools or the other schools that I had considered, or even if you didn't have any other schools in mind, you now have to come up with a number of schools. Like, okay, I'm gonna apply to 10 more schools and hope for the best. And I think one of the hardest points, like I said, between the time you hear the no and whatever yes that comes next is like that gray zone, right? That gray period. Like it's really hard to feel like, oh, I have all these other options when they're not there yet. Don't let that small period of like ambiguity ruin your entire senior year of high school. Like imagine if you look back on things like, let's say 5 years later, you finish graduating, you're working at your dream company, or you're running your own business, or you're doing whatever you want to do in your life, right? And you look back on your senior year, or you look back on your high school experience, and all you remember is like, oh my God, my senior year sucked. Like I was depressed. I was having a hard time going to school. I started dropping out of my classes, or I was flunking out of my classes because I got rejected. I received one no at one point in time. I like blew my entire year. Like I'm on TikTok, like all of you, like I go on TikTok, right? And so many people talk about like going through no contact, their healing process, their healing journeys from multiple things, right? Like all the way up from someone important to them passing away and all the way little to like a failed talking stage, like whatever it might be, whatever in between. And like imagine like you're putting yourself through all this like grief, and you were gonna be fine. Okay, you didn't know you were gonna be fine at the time, but like you were gonna be fine 6 months later, 3 months later. But you just ruined your entire senior year of high school based on one decision. Again, I'm not saying not to grieve, not to process your emotions, but like be realistic. Don't make one no come this whole like gray period, negative, cloudy season of your life. Have faith that like, okay, this is no, but like we're gonna try again. Like something's gotta give. Like I'm going to college, period. I'm getting my education, period. I'm meeting my lifelong friends, period. I'm getting this scholarship, period. This is going to happen. It's not happening how I wanted it to happen. Maybe I had to compromise, but it's gonna happen in one way or another. Again, there's so many pathways, but yeah, this was kind of a message or something that came to my mind earlier this morning. Ultimately, my whole message behind this video is like, life is hard enough. Life is going to tear you down enough. Like, do not tear yourself down. Don't go through, your personal statements or go through your past decisions that have happened, trying to figure out where you went wrong. How could this be? Like, the sooner you accept it and you acknowledge it, the more relief you'll get, right? Because what's done is literally done. You will never be able to psychoanalyze yourself to a point where you can redo the past. Be empowered by that. Be like, okay, I got a no, but like, it was one no. I felt the pain. I grieved the pain, but now it's like, on to a new day. It's like one of my lessons that I learned from my M2 at my first job, like out of college. It's like, she always tells us to fail fast. Like, if you're going to fail fast, recover quick. I hope like this video lands. I hope you can kind of like see a different perspective. Obviously, people talk about rejection, grief, failure, heartbreak. These are like super common topics, but I hope that I was able to like provide my perspective, as cliche as it may come across. Nonetheless, if this video helped you at all, please give it a thumbs up. Please give it a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm a new creator. I'm new to YouTube. Show some love. Like, give me some motivation, because I'm trying to be consistent, but I'm not seeing any numbers, y'all. Please help me. I'm kidding. Like the video if you want, but have a good day. Bye.